Okay, today we have a special guest, my neighbor, but like way bigger powerhouse than just my neighbor. Showrunner, executive producer.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, so many other credits, but those ones are the ones that really blew my mind. You can keep going.
Author.
Author. Yeah, duh. Sorry.
That's a good
that's
one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And then sister, daughter, all the regular stuff.
Okay. You're like student. Hey guys, I'm Nikki Bond, and this is Whoa Dad with no dad. Normally, I have my absentee dad who just came back into my life, and I teach him how to be a father, but he wants to take a little break from the podcast right now, and I'm fine. This is Erika, Bryant, who I am so happy to have you here. I will probe a little bit, but you're such a good storyteller from being a showrunner and writing a book about your life, which I highly recommend. We'll plug that at the end.
Love. I should have brought a copy of it, but it's okay.
It's okay. I have one. I'll run out. I'll bring it. We'll do that.
Love it.
So your story is very interesting, and I will let you tell it. But this podcast, we talk about. I have my producer. I'm always like, oh, my producer over there.
It's a mirror.
Yeah, it's a mirror. Yeah, look at me. Discussing like how our parents fucked us up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a funny time.
It is.
And your story is really interesting, especially so I originally started with doing it with my dad and teaching him how to be a father. And then now he doesn't want to do it anymore. So like abandonment issues are triggered. And now I bring people on and I find I learn so much from the story and forgiveness. And your story is like pure forgiveness.
Yeah.
You have some of it in your book, and I try not to ask too many questions when we had wine the other night, but your story revolves more around your mom. And so do you want to take us through that?
Sure.
Obviously.
Well, it's a little bit of both. It's both parents because my mom and dad met when they were in their young 20s. Okay. And my mom had already had my brother, and she met my dad. And a funny story about my dad. They're both from Michigan. A funny story about him is that she said when they met, all these girls were like, "Oh my God, you have to get with Greg." Da, 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 da. And she's like, "Well, who are they talking about?" And so their parents were actually friends already because they lived in the same area, and so. Apparently she was hearing all these stories about my dad and she's like, well, who are they talking about? I need to meet him. Because they were like, he's going back to California and I'm going to go with him. Like they were trying to figure their ticket out of the town. Yeah. So my mom was like, no, they're not. I'm going to get him first. So
that's amazing.
So when she said she met him, he's very good looking, and older now, of course. But
well, obviously because you're hot.
Thanks. And he was such a cutie, I guess. But he looked studious. He was dressed well, he was driving his dad's nice car from back then, and he was carrying a book. So he always had these books with him every time she would see him, and she's like, he must be so smart, he's always reading, blah blah blah. Well, lo and behold, the books were hollow and there was weed on the inside.
No,
there was weed on the inside. I'm like, that's my dad. That's my dad.
Amazing.
Ingenuity at its best.
Oh my God, good for
in the
him.
60s, no less.
That's sick.
So so they met, and then I come along years later. My brother and I are 6 years apart, and my mom and dad had a really tumultuous relationship. They argued a lot, finances and dumb stuff. I think that my dad was the youngest of all his siblings.
How many siblings did he have?
He had 5 brothers and sisters total. So he was the baby.
Okay.
And I think the favorite of my grandmother, to be honest with you. And they were super close. And so I think there was a rift between my grandmother and my mom, the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. It was a thing that happened there. And so anyway, they had a tumultuous relationship. My mom ended up leaving my dad because it was an abusive relationship. He never abused us kids, but him and her had a very volatile relationship. And so she left when I was about 6 years old.
Okay.
And my dad raised me from that point on.
Really? And did the abusive relationship, it was just him and it was physical
with her.
And then when she left, he was never, and not even volatile.
No. No.
Wow. Which, like, when we grow up, we're like, okay, those are just two toxic people that are together and you trigger each other. And when you were a kid, was it scary or did you see it?
Oh yeah, I saw it.
You did see
I
it.
saw all of it. Yeah, I saw all of it. It was rough to see.
Yeah.
It was scary. I mean, it's like being in a scary movie. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I remember moments where my brother would like hold me. You know, he would be sitting on the bed and I would be in between his legs and he would just be holding me because I'd be like, you know, it was bad. It was bad. And so yeah, I definitely saw it. And you know, it would happen. I don't remember a lot of instances. I remember a few. I'm sure I blocked a lot of it out.
Yeah.
You know, trauma.
Yeah.
But I think that for me seeing her, I was always like, I'm never going to be that woman. I'm never going to like, I would kill somebody first probably. Like, I think the 6-year-old or the 4-year-old me would be like, like you know what I mean? I think so just some other things would awaken in me. But yeah, and they were toxic together for sure. But the crazy thing is that today they're like the best of friends.
Really?
They talk all the time. My dad still will like call him like, hey, do you need anything? Do you need some money or anything like that? You know what I mean?
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, how long have they been together before they had you?
Oh my gosh. That's, I would assume probably 5 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Because my brother is 6 years older than me. And so I think they were together for at least, no, probably longer, probably like 8 years.
Okay.
A while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, because I think, no, it must have been 5. That math doesn't add up right. So yeah, it must have been 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, we'll go backwards, but you're cool with your mom now.
Yeah, we're great.
Yeah.
We're great. I talk to her every day. Like the thing about my mom is that, unfortunately, I think that for her growing up, she didn't have the kind of parenting that she needed. Of course, we pass down our trauma, unfortunately, sometimes. And
especially that generation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And so, you know, she had a really, I don't want to go too deep into her story because it's her story to tell, but she definitely had her own traumas with her own parents and she was a bit of a runaway. Okay. And so I think that she was always looking for an escape, but also looking for an escape into love, like to feel the love that she lacked as a kid. Yes. And so I think for me, my compassion and my ability to forgive her comes from seeing and knowing her past and seeing that little girl. Yeah.
Wow. Jesus Christ. You're very grounded. I'm like, okay, how much therapy did you have to do to get there? That's
I think I was
like, when did she come back into your life?
So here's the thing. She left when I was 6. And prior to this, I mean, you know, when they were having their volatile situations, there were times when, you know, they would get into it and she would leave him and she took me with her, me and my brother with her. Okay. So we went to a shelter one time in San Francisco. I remember that. I remember being in the shelter and I remember like just being up, freaked out all night. I think I must have been 3 years old or maybe 4. Wow. And I remember just seeing, I was like, this is not home. And it was just really scary. Wow. And then I remember another time we slept in a car. Like at the top of a mountain or something like that. So, you know, and here's the thing too, there was drugs and there was a whole bunch of other stuff going on too. So it wasn't just, he was a crazy ass mofo. Yes. You know, it was a lot of bad habits. I think that kind of bled into the relationship. Yeah. But anyway, to your question, we're close to this day for sure. And I think your question was what?
When did she come back?
When did she come back? So she never really left my life completely. Okay. So she left the house and she actually asked if me and my brother wanted to go with her. She did. Wow. But the 6-year-old version of me, and I'm such a Virgo, the 6-year-old version of me knew that I was like, well, listen, when we left with you before, we were like in a car. And
you're like, I want to marry off, bitch. I don't want
I'm like, I need to be in a house with a bit. So I was like, so for me, it was more like I wanted what was familiar to me. Yeah. You know, but children don't want their lives disrupted, right? Yes. And so I was doing anything that I could to maintain that. But losing her was like the heartbreak of my life, to be honest with you. Yeah. And so she left and couldn't believe that we didn't want to go. And so she had to take care of herself to really be able to come back and be in a space where we could really have a great relationship, I think. Yeah. Had she stayed, somebody would have died, I think. Yeah. It would have just been really bad. And the blessing is that I saw that at an age as 6 years old is when she left. I think had I been like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, had she still stayed with him, I would have issues with men.
Oh, for sure.
Because I would have had a different lens, and as I'm growing up as a young woman, seeing that and thinking that that's okay. Yeah. I think at 6 I was able to bury it deep And then my dad, because he wasn't abusive to me at all, he was an amazing father, horrible husband. I think that it balanced me in a weird way. So I don't have daddy issues. I have mommy issues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So so she never left, and she was still in the city. So I would see her periodically, basically, like
on weekends or something.
Weekends, every other weekend, and she was, still figuring her stuff out too. And she had a new guy that she was seeing or whatever. And
did you like him?
He was alright. I mean, he wasn't good for her. You know what I mean?
And as kids, we know that. Like my mom, whenever she dated someone I didn't like them, it's like we know.
And it's almost like we have the instinct they should have.
Yes, absolutely. It's true.
It's like a dog's instinct, like, you ain't it, Get away from her. You suck,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so do you find like, okay, I'm relating this more to me to see if it was the same, but like, so my dad, same thing, like, well, he was more out of my life because he lived in Florida. But when I was like 6, when I was growing up, it wasn't until I was like 18 that I realized, oh, I have issues. Like, but I'm not normal. I thought that everybody else, like, this is just how it is and my life is normal. You said it was the biggest heartbreak of your life.
Yeah.
Did you feel that at 6, or did it kind of sink in later on?
I think I felt it at 6. I think I dealt with it then, because I remember, it's so funny. I'll tell her this story because I still have a headscarf from that she left at the house when I was a kid. I still have it to this day. It's in my apartment.
Okay.
And but I remember like crying and missing her, and I remember like taking the scarf and just smelling it, and it smelled like Gina Tay. And I would go in the bathroom in the closet. She left like some of her shower gel, so I would just go in the bathroom and I would just smell it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she is, but back then, of course, I missed a big gap of time with her. She was a great mom. I mean, she was a super loving and very much a cheerleader. Like, you can do anything. And if I like peed and didn't sprinkle any on the toilet, she'd be like, good girl. So
oh, wow.
I was
easy breezy.
Literally. So as if I'm a boy, right? I can't make it in the toilet. Bad example, but it's the eggnog. It's not me. So 'tis the season.
Yeah, there we go. If I didn't have to go get a haircut, I'd be doing that with you. Then we would just be crying at the end, just wasted.
I know. But no, I mean, I think for me, I forgot what the question was.
When did it sink in? Oh, you said at 6 years old.
Yeah.
Like you knew that there was a difference in your life. You knew.
Yeah, and I think too, because she was so present too, she was still in the city, and I think because she was again figuring her stuff out. I don't want to go too deep in this because she's gonna hear this and start crying and feel guilty, and I don't want her to feel any mom guilt at this point, because it's my experience, but it doesn't mean that I blame her at this point at all. All is forgiven completely.
And also, we're adults and we understand this now.
Exactly.
We understand what a complicated relationship is now.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom, stop listening now if you think you're gonna cry. I'll put in the notes where to pick up. Okay.
But no, like there were times when she'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna come," and then she wouldn't come. So I was I had a heavy abandonment issues. So to answer your question fully, I processed it then, but I think my abandonment issues is what showed up later.
Yes.
In my life. And so I was like, when it came to dating, I felt that, or I saw that I was super clingy and had an issue like, what do you mean you can't call me back? What do you mean we can't? Or if you stand me up, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like I lose my shit.
Yes.
And literally I felt like that 6-year-old kid standing at the gate like, don't leave. It was that.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And did you get over that?
Yeah.
And when did that kick in? Like, was that like in your teens, 20s? And when did it end?
Oh, geez. I think it kicked in. I think I realized that it kicked in.
No, you're good.
Okay. I think it kicked in when I was, I'd say, probably in my 20s, I think.
Okay. Classic.
Yeah.
Because that's when the players come out, too.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, 23?
Yeah.
Okay, boys.
Yeah.
Sticks.
And then I think, but I think I began to really deal with it and see it and wanted to work on it in my mid-30s. Mid-30s. Because I didn't realize that it was something that was really hindering me. I didn't feel that. I was just like, oh, this is just the way it is. And then it's like, no, you're responding in a way that is not conducive to your growth.
Yes.
Yes. And I think I was dating a guy, I'm sure, some knucklehead. And that's what it was. I think I was more into him than he was into me. I realized this the other day. That men also put you in a friend zone. they will have sex with you and then they just friend zone you.
Yeah,
Or they'll let you love them a lot.
Yes,
and love them the way that they love to be loved and not sleep with you, but they just kind of keep you around.
Oh, sounds like what I do to men.
I was the opposite. I was the opposite. And so, so I think for me in those situations, I was like, oh, this is what's happening here. So it just made me really want to dig deep and figure it out. But I started going to, I'd say hypnotherapy about 7 years ago now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that helped?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, because I think that I had a lot of resentment toward her, like buried.
Yeah.
And it's one of those relationships too. Like my mom will tell this to any stranger, anybody that she meets. She's like, Erika's more like the mom. I'm the, you know what I mean? I'm the nurturer. I'm the this. I'm the that. And that's kind of I think those are the roles that we chose before this lifetime.
That when you chose each other. Yeah.
I think I don't have my own children. And I think I chose a mom who I could mother. Because she didn't have mothering coming up herself.
Interesting.
And so I feel like my old soul, which I believe I had kids in other lifetimes, but I feel like me choosing this mother, as beautiful and wonderful as she is, I think that it was me wanting to be nurturing, being mothering, but I'm that to my mom.
And you aren't resentful of that?
I was for a long time.
Okay.
I was. I'm not anymore, but I definitely was. And here's the thing. I think I still have moments of that because I'm like, I need blah, blah, blah. Why do I have to?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's frustrating.
It is frustrating. That's why I'm like, well, how did you overcome that? But if you have moments of it still, but hypnotherapy. And I talk to her. I'm honest with her. I'll have a conversation. I'll be like, listen, I don't like that I have to do blah, 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 you know? And she's a tough bird because I don't know what it is to be a mom in this life, but I think that there is no other job that you really want to be great at. Yeah, like you can fuck this job. I hate this, but a mom, you want I can't imagine any woman not wanting to be good at that. Yes.
And so when you fall short, which all of them do, because it's always our mother's fault. Whatever goes wrong, it's like, it's my mom's fault. You know? So I think, for her, I have compassion for that. And I don't want her to blame herself, but I do want to have a very honest conversation and explain to her how she's showing up in my experience at this point, and so that we can rectify it. Unfortunately, her and my brother, they don't have a relationship, damn. And I think a lot of his resentment is very much at the forefront. It's very much on the front burner of the stove for him.
He was also older too.
He was 12.
Yeah.
So he was at the precipice of turning into a teenager. He needed her, I wouldn't say more than me, but in a different way. And my dad, again, wasn't his dad. Yeah. So he felt, I think, probably abandoned and then like an outsider a lot. And then a lot of other family dumb stuff that happens. And so thankfully, my dad raised him as his own and adopted him when he was like 40 years old. Like just gave him which he already had the last name, but he officially adopted him just so that, which is a great, that's an attestament to who my father is, though. Yeah. Horrible husband. Dope dad. Yeah. Dope dad. You know what I mean? And just super simple man, like not, doesn't demand a whole lot of anything from anybody. He's like, listen, you love people while they're here. And then that way you don't have a panic attack and crying and all over the floor when they die. You just have to love people enough when they're here.
Oh, gee.
But that was, what I mean? Simple guy, but deep stuff.
Very deep. Yeah. And so then, okay, with mommy issues, did you find that you had any sort of intimidation by women in power? No. But no? Like you never seeked validation or anything from women in power or women? I
can't say I didn't seek validation, but I definitely wasn't intimidated.
Okay, so the seeking of the validation.
I think so on some level. I don't know. I'm a girl's girl. Yeah. And so I have like friends from 12 years old up until now. I've had friends for 30, 35 years. It's crazy, but no, never really had. I'll say this. Before my mom did leave, I think that it was a blessing that she left, one, because I don't have daddy issues. Yeah. I think also she poured so much into me. She's an adult mom because she poured so much into me by the age of 6 that I was good. Okay. And my grandmother was the backup. His mother was the back. So I had a mothering figure in my life. Yes. So I wasn't completely left.
Great.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. And she was a little something. She was 4'11", stout, badass, like, and had all these kids, her raised them by herself in California when she left her husband, who was my dad's dad, who was abusive to her. So it was passed down,
Right.
and so I did have, like, that was the second heartbreak of my life, but at the age of 13 when she died, because her grandparents' love is unconditional.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You're like, parents suck. Grandparents are awesome.
Yeah. Especially when they're subbing in. Like that was my mom. It was my mom, then my grandma, and then my dad, like in order of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. And she taught me what unconditional love was. And I think that it filled me with so much confidence and self-assuredness. She died when I was 13. I was pretty much graduating from middle school. So I went into high school. I had a bout with depression for a bit after her death and stuff because, she was she was the ground of my life. And then the ground fell out.
And you were able to identify depression at 13?
Well, yeah, I was like wanting to hurt myself.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I was like, this can't be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I was heavily anemic too. I've always been anemic my entire life until recently, like this year, which is crazy. But so I was passing out and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And so it was weird. And I was a straight A student. I was in school like every day on time, like the perfect attendance. I was like a teacher's pet kind of kid. Like I was very much like, I want to be the smartest one and
hate you.
Overachiever. Not much has changed in that realm, but
I mean, it's working. You're doing great.
Listen, education was my way out, so I wouldn't end up in the same situation. So I was like, I'm going to overachieve my way out of here.
Yes. Yeah. And okay, so hypnotherapy. Wait, I had other questions leading up to that. So the abandonment issues came out with the men. It's interesting that it's great your grandma had so much power over you, because even like with my mommy issues, I still have like so much issues with women that have power. Like I'm if they're paying attention to me and then they take it away, I'm like, what did I do? Like I'm very insecure with that kind of stuff. And so it's really like your grandma had so much power in your life that you didn't.
Yeah.
You weren't like that. Did your abandonment issues or insecurities, well, it doesn't sound like you had that many insecurities. It just the abandonment issues. I was going to say, did it affect your career or?
I think for me, no. I mean, I didn't have a lot of, I think I was always the runt of the group, the smallest of the group, the shortest, the tiniest. My nickname was Shorty and Tiny and Little Bit and all these little, whatever monikers people wanted to put on me. And sorry, my phone's
No, you're good.
I should probably
grab it. It's okay.
No, there's nothing.
Okay.
It's a spam.
Oh.
And so I feel like, I didn't have a lot of insecurity. I think just my small stature. And I think for me, I wanted my dad, even though I still was living with him when she left or when she went to go find herself, I should say that because I don't want to put a blame thing on that.
Yeah.
But I think my dad, he worked a lot. So I essentially was raising myself.
Interesting.
I didn't have a curfew. I didn't have a lot of guidance. I was a straight A student, not because he was like, you better get good grades. I just was like, this is my way out. And so I think for me, my insecurities mainly were me being small and wanting attention from boys, but they didn't give it to me because I was always smaller, and my girlfriends were growing boobs and all these things and had a figure and had fat asses, and even in 5th grade. And I was like,
damn.
I mean, we black, so we got
we
got some.
I was like, well,
it happens. And so I think for me it wasn't really about any of the other stuff. I think it was more so like I wanted to be noticed. You know what I mean? And I felt a little invisible. But I think that's why I also developed a really decent personality. And I say this is gonna sound kind of weird, so forgive me if I offend anybody, but I feel like because I was so small, I almost, you look at movies and you see kids that are like overweight and they have an amazing personality and they overcompensate. That was me. It was that. And so now that I'm older, people are like, you're cute, but you're actually really awesome and you have a great personality. And I'm like, because in my mind, I was that fat kid. Not figuratively, but not literally. It was like I was the one who people just didn't pay that much attention to when it came to guys and stuff. So
The friend.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yes.
friend. Yeah. I was always friends with like the cool guys, but they would never ever want to be with me. But I was still like, oh, I feel good about this.
Yeah. And I mean, I like some of them liked me, but I just my friends got all the attention. I felt like, you know what I mean, which is fine. I mean, and so I also too before another sidebar is that I know we're going off the parent piece, but I think that I was bullied a little bit by kids in my neighborhood when my mom was there. Like, just they used to call me rich bitch, which I was like, we didn't have money.
Interesting. Just probably the way you held yourself. Like, you probably had confidence.
Right. And so
interesting.
It's wild. And the funny thing is, the one girl that lived across the street from me, she was my best friend, whatever that means when you're 5 years old or 7 years old. And she was like the ringleader of them. So she would rally them all together. But the funny thing is that like at Christmas time, we would all sit around and circle our Toys R Us catalogs and circle the toys we wanted and make our Christmas list. She would get all the black dolls. I would get all the white, same version, but the white version because my parents didn't have the forethought to go find the black one. I don't know. And so I'm like, okay.
This will do.
Right, exactly. They're like, she said she wanted this. What color? I'm like, can I have one that looks like me? But she would have the dope one and I'd be like, oh my gosh. And so I'm like, why are you calling me the rich one? You're the one that gets everything that I want.
Yeah.
She was super spoiled anyway. And so she would rally them up and rile them up. And then they would come and like fuck with me and be like, come outside. I'm like, I'm not coming outside.
Way.
I'm not coming outside. I'm not stupid. I'm like, I'm little, but I ain't stupid. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, fuck you.
But even then, my mom was like, listen, they're just jealous of you. Da, 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 da. And every parent says that.
Yeah, and it means nothing. You're like, no, I need someone my age to say that. But they're right.
They are.
But it is hard when your parents are on your side because you're like, well, now I'm a bigger loser because you're telling me that they're jealous of me.
And I'm in the house playing by myself.
Yeah.
So I got accustomed. So I learned how to self-soothe. So, and this is before she left.
Damn.
So I would be in my room playing by myself with my dolls, or I loved playing with kitchen stuff, which is probably why I love to cook so much. But I love just being in my room, listening to music, dancing by myself, cooking by myself. So I self-soothed.
Like I'm like, are we the same person?
Yeah. And so then when she was gone, I had trauma, but I had learned how to self-soothe.
That was your happy place. You could still go there and play your game and do your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. Your room, and it's funny because your apartment is like a womb.
Yeah, everyone says that.
Yeah, it's such a like special place.
Yeah.
But that's your self-soothing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And when you were super clingy, do you have like any stories of one that stood out where you're like, oh shit, I gotta work on this?
There was a situation that I was into a guy for 6 years. 6 years who wasn't into me. We were friends and I was in love with this man.
Oh my God.
And it was weird because I had this obsession with him. And I didn't know where that came from. It's like when I met him, I was like, oh, whatever. And then we kind of like, he love bombed the shit out of me back then. This was like 15 years ago, something like that. And I didn't know what that was until now, love bombing. But
okay. Want to explain it for people that
from
don't know
what I
it
understand it to be, love bombing is when you meet someone fast and furious and they're just all in. You're like baby on the first and second day and you're talking for 12 hours a day and constantly texting and as if there's no other piece of either of your lives except for what you share together. Okay. And you're completely absorbed into each other super fast. And that's how you get hooked.
Okay.
And then time goes on 3, 4, or 5 months, maybe not even that long. And then all of a sudden they're going back to life and doing what they do. And then you're like, wait, what? Love me. Talk to me, text me, spend time with me, hang out with me. And then you're constantly comparing where you are to what it was at the beginning. Yes. And then you're always believing that you're going to make it back to that place. And you never do.
And you never hooked up or you were hooking up?
We were not hooking up.
Oh my God.
We like fourth base, but that was about it. And
okay. Okay.
Which is almost home plate, but you know what I mean.
I was like, that dry humping? What's that? What's going on? I'm like, do you ever hook up? You're like, yeah, no, we didn't. Fourth base. I'm like, nope,
that's going in your stand up. I know. Yeah, I know. I already know.
It's a big base.
So it's called pleasuring without penetration. A one-way street to me. That's
what you deserve.
And that's how you get hooked even further.
Yes.
Because then I'm like, oh, you gave me.
Now I'm like,
now you gave me 7 orgasms. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
just like.
I didn't even really know what love bombing was, but I was like, oh God, I've been love bombed for sure.
Yeah.
So then what happened? So he was the one that made you realize,
yeah,
see, I'm clingy.
Yeah, and because he
love bombed you.
He did, but and here's the thing, I'll say this. He didn't do anything wrong in the fact that he was very honest, like, I don't want a girlfriend, blah, 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 blah. But he allowed me to treat him like my boyfriend.
Okay.
So he didn't force me to do anything. There's not a gun to my head, but I figured, like a lot of women figure, I'm going to love him enough.
Yes.
I'm going to love him into loving me.
Yes.
I'm going to
I'm going to be the one.
I'm going to be the one.
Oh,
yes.
Baby, give me a couple of those. It's my life.
Yeah. So, and it never happened, of course. So in that process, I was learning that. And then my last straw was like, oh, wait, like I needed a partner to be present with me. And I had been there for him, at times, and, was hoping that he would be there for me. And he was out of the country at the time and just couldn't make time to be present for me during something that I was going through. And it just dawned on me. And I'm like, he's not for you. He's not like, and I'm like, and was unsure. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. And I'm like, first of all, I'm a sure fucking bet. Like, I am the shit.
Yes.
But it took me a minute to wake up to that.
Yes.
A long minute. And my friends all knew. They would be like, you still okay? And, and they didn't say anything too bad. Because I'd be like, don't you say nothing bad about, and I'm protective. But but they saw what was going on and they didn't get it. But I think too, we have to bump our heads sometimes.
Yes.
And figure it out on our own, because not everyone can learn from other people's experiences in every instance. I can learn from other people's mistakes in certain verticals, and that vertical I could not.
Yeah. And when you give people the example, like same thing, I would try to teach people. And it's like, no, I just give them the examples so they don't feel alone, but you're only going to learn from yourself. Mm-hmm. So were you like reaching out to him a bunch and then you clued into it and you're like, oh, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. And then that was your abandonment issues.
Yeah. And it kicked in and it was just like, oh, here we go. And then it was like, but you know what? This is not the best. It's not God's best for me.
No. Like,
I'm not supposed to be sad and miserable and call myself loving someone who says that they love me too, not in the same way, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm supposed to be always longing.
Yeah.
Like that longing, like, oh, just please. That is awful.
Yeah. I always say the butterflies in your stomach aren't a good thing. That's anxiety.
It's anxiety. Mm-hmm.
That is not an okay thing.
And I'll say this with my guy now, we've been together for many years. I didn't have a whole lot of flippies. When I met him, I was like, oh, great, he's good looking, blah, blah, blah. We had a great time. And then time went on and I'm like, I don't get the flippies. And I'm like, oh, that was fear.
Exactly.
It was, I was freaked out and was like,
of losing someone.
Yeah. I hope he, and it was like, now I'm steady and I'm solid and I'm secure in a relationship and I don't have that stuff, which is great.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. And I think that also having abandonment issues, being around people like that, like we are going to be going for people that give us a lot of love and then take it away, because if you can attain them, then that makes up for everything that you feel with your parents. Mm-hmm. And it's rewarding, but then you're like, oh no, I just want something solid.
Yeah, and it's trauma bonding is what it is. You bond over the abandonment. So, you pull in people into your life that trigger that thing in you that you felt when you were a kid, because that's your home base. Yeah. And so you don't realize you're doing that, and then you stay in it because that's what you're accustomed to, unless you do the work, unless you grow out of it and figure out, oh, that is actually not conducive to my growth and not helpful, and it doesn't benefit me any longer.
Yeah.
So it helps you to argue for your limitations when you're in it. And you're like, oh, this is normal. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
And so with everything, like your relationship with your dad is good.
Yes. We talk at least once a week. He calls me and he's my man, $100,000. Okay. So good. So funny. We have the best talks. We talk shit. It's awesome. Okay. It's awesome. And then me and my mom, we talk every day.
Okay. And when she found herself, were you in your 20s or were you in your 30s?
I was in my 30s. Okay. I think And yeah, and she moved here to LA, I'd say a few years before I did. And then when I moved to LA in 2006, I moved in with her.
Oh. Ooh, ooh. Don't do that. Don't do that.
It was a blessing. I'll say this. It was a blessing that she allowed me to move in with her because I had gotten a job. I was in Atlanta for many years working. And then I got a job here in LA. And so she was like, you can come stay with me. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I did. And it was fine. I mean, we got along fine for the most part. I just know that I can't live with her. You know what I mean?
It's not even against your mom.
No.
It's living with parents, and then they go, "What do you want for dinner? What time are you gonna be home? What are you doing?" You're like, "I'm just drinking coffee. Can you shut the fuck up?" Love them, but like, ugh, they have nothing.
It's a lot. It's a heavy load. I mean. And then it's a thing of, I had to drive an hour to get to work and back, and it was just a whole thing. And so I think, having a roommate at this point, unless it's my man, like was just not a good idea.
Yes.
It just wasn't a good idea.
Yes. How long did you live there?
But not quite a year, like 8 months, 9 months, something like that.
Was that the first time that you guys had lived together since you were 6? Oh my God.
Yeah. So we had our sweet moments for sure. But I think the interesting thing about parents and maybe moms, I don't only have one, so I don't know if other people have this experience, but me and a friend of mine were talking about this recently and how sometimes it's a thing of expectation. And it's like they have this unspoken expectation of certain things. And you're like, why do you expect this of me? Yes. Where did this come from?
Yes.
Who told you that was the rule? Where's this rule book? Can I read this, please? Like, what is happening? And so I think there was a little bit of that, I think. But we got along fine. We didn't have any blowouts or anything. And I can't even say she got heavily on my nerves. She cooks amazing and all that stuff. I think it was more about her not knowing me.
Yes.
She doesn't know. Not now. She does. Yes. She did not know me at the time. And so I think that she had ideas of who I was.
Yes.
Based upon who I was when I was a kid. Yes. And a spoiled teenager. And my dad, spoiled me and did all these things. I think in her mind, she had a vision of me that was not accurate. Yes. And so it was me dismantling that.
Okay. Yeah. And then you're trying to just be yourself, and then you get nagged for whether you're being sarcastic. This is me just telling my but whether your sense of humor is cutting. You're like, that's how I talk to my friends. It's like fun and games. Yeah. It's a hard adjustment. Yeah.
And she's sensitive too. You know what I mean? So which I respect. But I mean, she's a throbbing heart, the sweetest lady. She really is. And, and she's growing. I think the dope thing about my mom is that we've had some issues. And I think for her, I'm a naturally positive person. She's naturally negative. And that comes from her childhood and her parents and stuff, her parenting. And so I think that dichotomy alone is like, okay.
Yes.
And but over the years, she wants to be more positive, and she makes an effort to be more positive, and she's actually grown and changed goo gobs.
That's very impressive because honestly, I feel like my therapist, everyone says you can't change your parents when they're at a certain age. So the fact that she has grown and changed is huge.
Yeah, she wants to change. She wants to. Even my boyfriend, he's like, when I met your mom, he was like, yo, this and then because she was critical of me.
Yes.
Hypercritical.
Might be jealousy.
Might be.
Yeah.
Might have been. Might have been. Might still. Who knows? Yeah. But I think she was hypercritical, and I'd be like, what the I'm like, I do a lot for you. And you know what I mean? And so, and just do a lot in general, or not, even if I did nothing, why be critical of me,
Yeah.
And so I think that, now she's softened a lot. Yeah. And he's like, she's grown. He's like, they say you can't teach your old dog new tricks. He's like, that's a lie. He's like, cause I've witnessed seeing your mom grow. He's like, and that's not easy to do.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think was there any part in your career, because you've come such a long way and you're so successful and clearly so likable because of reading your story in your book.
Thank you.
Was there any hiccups that happened with the way that your childhood was? Did any of that affect your career, your confidence, or was you were able to just...
I think it drove me.
Okay.
I think it was the fire underneath my ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was the not wanting to experience the abandonment, the whatever, the issues of my past. So it was like, I'm never going back there. So I'm only going up.
Cool.
So it was my drive. I think
Damn.
I think it just motivated the crap out of me.
That's great. I'm like, I need to go to hypnosis. 'Cause the fact, like, there's so much rejection. And I guess for me personally, rejection, I'll keep going, you know, but the rejection gets me down, puts me through depression. And it's
Well, rejection is also tied to abandonment.
Exactly. That's
so
the
you picked
problem.
a career. You chose a career that was going to abandon you from time to time.
Exactly. And that's where I'm like, this sucks. So that's why I'm like, how did you not feel that?
I don't know. I mean, I did too, though. I'm a freelance executive producer, showrunner, you know, and so I think I did too. But I also, I don't know. I had a really rough time at one point here in LA, and I was unemployed for 8 months. It was a long time. This was like, maybe not quite, maybe 10 years ago, maybe longer. And so it was a really, really rough time. And, you know, I was here in this apartment actually. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's in the book, the story's in the book. And I was praying and I'm like, if I'm not supposed to be doing this, just take it away from me. Like, I'll go work at Bank of America. I don't care. Like, I just want to be steady. I don't want this. Yeah. Like, this ain't fun. You know what I mean? And so I think that was where I kind of hit a wall. For me, and it was like, wow, I chose something. I chose this career of faith. It's a faith walk, and it's a faith walk where if you don't kill fish, you're not eating. Right. Dinner, breakfast, lunch, you're not eating. You know. Yeah. And so, but then lo and behold, when I surrendered, then things started happening. You know, and doors opened.
When you were like, just take it away.
Mm-hmm. They say it's one of those things where if you love something so much, you let it go and see if it comes back to you, it's yours. Yeah. I loved what I was exploring. I loved what I was experiencing and the path that I was starting myself on. Yeah. But I'm like, if I am putting a square peg into a round hole, I don't want to do that. I want to do what my purpose is. I want to do what I am good at. I want to do something that's going to make a difference. Yes. Whether it's in the industry at large or by the people that I touch individually day by day. And so, you know, and I was like, I'm willing to do whatever. Like, and doors just began to open within like a week or two after I said that prayer. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then now you just trust. You're like, now I just trust. Like, I'm not working right now, but listen, God got me. I trust that that the phone call, my phone's ringing right now. Yes, that might be the thing. Not disturb. I just trust now. I just have faith.
And can you, for people listening that, like, especially when you talked about hypnotherapy, it seems like it helped you a lot.
It did.
How was, like, can you?
Yeah. So for me, I'm very heady. I'm very like to be in control of my thoughts. That's why I don't do heavy drugs. Like I'll drink or something like that. But that's pretty much the extent of it.
You can control your thoughts. Yes, then. You just go woo.
Exactly. Yeah. And then with the history too, like I don't know if that gene exists. So I'm like, I'm not trying crack. Why do people do that? Why don't you try something that takes you? I don't want to try that.
I think it's with the people you hang out with.
Probably. Yeah. I don't think that I have Teflon skin like that. I couldn't do it. Like, I'm not. No. Yeah. So, but yeah, what was the question, Chad?
Oh, hypnotherapy. Because honestly, because you said that that's what helped you forgive your mom.
I think it started before the hypnotherapy, but I think the hypnotherapy definitely solidified it some more for me. As I was saying, I'm very heady, and I didn't think that I would go under. And so the first time that I did it, I was like, okay, is this working? I don't know. Yeah. And it was more about meditative relaxation. Okay. And then I went under like the third time. So for in one session, when you're in hypnotherapy, you can still hear, you're still conscious, but you're so in the dream or in whatever you're envisioning that you're kind of removed from the present state, is how I describe it. And so she took me under and told me to envision my 6-year-old self. Okay. What I was wearing, what my hair looked like, what I look like, and what is she doing? And I think I was playing or something in my room by myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think she said something like, she asked me a question I can't remember what the question was, to ask the little version of me. I asked it not out loud, but in my mind's eye or whatever, I asked. And then when she asked me to, go to her and give her a hug. Whatever the question, I can't remember what the question was because I was under.
Yeah.
But I asked a poignant question to my 6-year-old self, and I think crying. I started crying while I was under, and then she was like, hug her. And it helped, you know what I mean? Really? And I don't know how that was necessarily tied to my mom per se, but I think it was me mothering me.
Yes.
In that moment. It's what I was missing, right? Yeah. And so, that's how it happened.
Wow. Okay. In one session.
In that
third session.
That was my third session, and now I still go.
You do?
I still, yeah.
Oh, I want that contact.
Yes, I got you. Yeah, she's fantastic, and I go for me, it's almost like you go to the dentist I go more frequently than that, but dentist like every 6 months for cleaning. Yeah. It's maintenance. Yeah. And so I go to kind of keep my vibration high as well. I meditate, I do baths, I burn candles. Like I do all of I pray every day, like multiple times a day. Like I'm very much about, that's a huge part of self-care. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we are reaching outside of ourselves and we're doing so much for other people, we get depleted and we don't fill ourselves back up. And so I think that's where sometimes that anxiety comes up or that freaking out thing comes up. When you're kind of maintaining and putting in what needs to be there, you don't get depleted as easily.
Yeah. That's okay. So because everybody has different methods of how they dealt with it. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's if you didn't go to therapy, but that's what's helping you. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah.
And I journaled too. Like I used to, not right now, and I haven't journaled as frequently as I should, but for a good 10 years, I journaled every day. I have a bin, stacks and stacks and stacks of journals that I just every day wrote something. And I think they say something about when you're writing, it's cathartic and it pulls things out of you. It almost allows you to see your mind on paper and allows you to dump it. So it's not festering on the inside of you. Yeah. So maybe I'm sure that helped as well.
Yeah.
Read a lot of books, a lot of self-love, self-help books over the years.
Do you have recommendations?
A lot. I mean, it depends on what the issue is. Like I had multiple. So I've read things like Codependent No More was a big one back in the day. A lot of books that I read back in the day were also like spiritual books and the Bible, like things like that. So I think it depends. I have recommendations.
Codependent No More. Were you codependent?
I think so.
With
who it was the person that I was with that I would choose. Because I was afraid to lose them. So it's the clinginess. That's the needy, clingy thing.
And just to jump back to that for a second, do you think that drove people away, or do you think that you were just choosing the wrong guy?
I think both.
Yeah.
I think I was choosing the wrong guy, and I think it also ran that wrong guy away.
Yeah. And right now, but with your partner now, that you've been like, how was it a transition at the beginning?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
Oh yeah, because he's a very strong man.
Yeah. He's a firefighter.
He's a fire captain.
He's a fire captain. He was walking down the hall the other day with his jacket half open. I was like, I'm not going to my show. I'm going to hang out at Erika's. See you guys later. Like,
it was tough because he's an alpha. I'm an alpha.
Yeah.
And so I think it was me understanding that I could be in my femininity.
Yes.
And in my career, I'm not feminine.
Yes.
I'm very masculine in my career. And so it was me learning to, soften.
Yes.
And the book for that, I can remember that off the top of my head, is Getting to I Do. And it talks about like the male female roles. And I know that there's so much fluidity right now with gender and all that stuff. I am very much, for me in my life, I subscribe to that because, I know what my role is. And I also was raised a certain way. And so it feels natural to me. And he reminds me a lot of my dad because he's a strong guy. Like their hands almost look the same. It's really weird, but just very simple guy, like just good-hearted integrity, not like all about a bunch of nonsense and flash. He's just a basically good human being.
Yeah. Well, and also I think that the good people like that when the crazies like us come in with our abandonment. Because if you're treated a certain way, whether it's the relationship or the bullies when you're kids or your parents leaving, when those things keep happening to you, then you do get the high from people leaving. You date people like that, and then you become in your 30s and like, you know, you everything kind of rounds out, but you're so used to dating motherfuckers that you expect them to leave. And so like the stigma of the crazy.
I have something to say about that because when when we first were dating, we were like getting into stupid arguments. It's like someone said recently, like, you know, don't let a roommate issue become a relationship issue.
Oh, interesting.
So like, you left your such and such, and it's like turns to a big. It's like, why are you fighting about that? That's a roommate issue. That's not a relationship issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll tell Matt that.
Yes, tell Matt. And so we were arguing about something stupid, and it never escalates, which is great because he's pretty calm. Very few times has it been like like World War III. And we were arguing, and so I was like, all right, well, fine, I guess. So we're breaking up, and he was like, what? And he was like, we're having a disagreement. This is what relationships are. He had to say that to me at least 3 times or 3 occasions because I kept thinking, oh, now I pissed you off, so now we're going to break up. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going anywhere.
That's amazing and so safe.
But to hear that, I didn't even realize that I was projecting that. But when he said that to me, I was like, oh, I do think that.
Yeah.
Because that's what's always happened.
Yes. And it's also, no offense, Mom, but it's what happened when you were a kid. So it's like, we know this is just the way it goes.
And so he taught me, because too, he came from a very stable household, you know what I mean? Had both parents, And so having someone who had that background versus me, it also gives me a sense of comfort because he's speaking from a place of, we're not both blind in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he didn't know what a healthy relationship was either. Let's be clear. Like, he had a bunch of crazy broads, crazier than me.
Yeah.
Which I have very little crazy in my tank. They were like 3/4 of a tank, like crazy.
Because sometimes people that come from stable places just want a little excitement, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, and I think he likes the excitement for sure, or at least used to.
Yeah.
Now he's with boring me, so because now I'm
Erika,
healed.
You get
I'm
crazy.
Healed.
Come on.
I used to, not anymore. I'm healed now. She's healed. She's zen. So yeah.
Okay, I think that's the biggest thing is when they're like, nope, this is the safe place to be, and recognizing that just for people that have fucking abandonment issues, because it is hard.
It is. It is. It can be. It definitely can be. And I think too, you know, you continue to attract the same person, or you attract that person and in that relationship they continue to abandon you.
Yes.
When you need them. When you want something, when you need something, or when you want support or whatever it is. And that's a dance too. You know? Yeah. So we just have to be mindful and be willing to, as my book says, do it scared and just be without. Yeah. You know what I mean? Something, maybe, and I'm not saying leave your partner. I never advise any of my friends like, leave your man, girl, because the streets are not fun. But if it's not feeding you, then you have to find out what the nourishment is that you need and figure out how to get it. Yeah. From that person.
Yeah. Or if it's only feeding what your parents didn't give you, which
filling a void.
Yeah. So do you want to plug?
Yeah.
Let's plug that book. I'll go grab it one second. This is Erika's book.
Someone's been reading it. It's all beat up. Yeah. That's good stuff. Yeah. It's a sign of a good book right there. All pages.
Pages. I like hold pages down for stuff I want to go back to. Yeah.
This is the book. This is the baby. It's the baby I never had.
Called Doing It Scared.
Doing It Scared. It's an inspirational guide to facing and conquering fear. And it's just my, love letter to my past, I think. There's another one coming out.
Sick. There is?
I'm going to write another one this year we're at the end of the year now, so I'm going to start focusing on that.
This is such a good read because it is self-help, but it's also your journey and it's inspiring. And there's like a lot of relatable stuff in what you've achieved in your life and how you kept going up. Yay. It's very good, especially that's why I like to have people on that are powerhouses, because it's like you did come from a broken home, abandonment issues, and you're just so fucking grounded. And I'll like go over there and I just get therapy from her. I'm like, thank you.
Free therapy, yes.
Yes,
As my couch could talk, as I say in the book.
Yeah, I'm like,
what was something that you got from the book? Do you remember anything that actually spoke to you and made you go, oh?
Well, to be honest, I think that a lot of stuff in this book you've said to me in person.
Got it. Okay.
And so it was more of reminders of things that you told me,
Mm-hmm.
but there was the magical things that happened to you in your career,
Mm-hmm.
the signs that you got and the patience that you had is the thing that stood out to me the most.
Gotcha.
Like when you, I forget what show you were on, but you were
Leaving Top Model, maybe?
I think, is that before?
It was after Tyler.
It was after Tyler.
So I left the studio, then went to Tyler, then left Tyler, and then went to.
I think you know what was crazy was when you left when you went to Tyler, that was like a magical moment, and then all of a sudden that was a bit
crazy.
So then it was like this magical moment. It taught me like, oh, you think you know what you want, and then it's rocky, and then that it seemed like your dream could just go away, but then you got the next offer.
Yeah.
So those were the things that, and just how you pushed through it. That's stuff that really stuck out to me. Like that's the stuff that I find really inspiring.
I think what I often remind myself is that as a freelancer and just even the person in stand-up, I have other friends that are comics as well. And I think it's, knowing that you've never, well, some people have, but in my walk, I'm like, okay, I've never been homeless and destitute and couldn't eat and didn't have a roof over my head, even if it's people that let me, I have people. So there's that. And then, every situation, it's always better than the last one. God always promotes us, never demotes us.
And that's something that I think I forget a lot, honestly. I always think like when there's a void, when there's nothing happening, I'm like, oh, it's worse now, instead of realizing like, no, it's been getting better.
And what I say is when I have like right now my break, I'm like, God's giving me rest because the next thing is going to wear my ass out. Yes. So I'm just getting my rest all the way up.
Yeah.
And my me time in and all that stuff and cleaning and nesting and like organizing my place because when I'm working, I have no time for any of that. Yes. So for me, I just take those times like, okay, thank you God for the rest. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And do you want to promote your show that's coming out?
It's going to be out on Hulu next year in 2023. Not sure what the time slot's going to be. Not sure what the air date is yet because we're still editing it. But it's on Hulu. It'll be called Sisters LA, I think. They may change the title too. So who knows? So so maybe not the good time to plug it just yet because they're still in the process.
Just keep an eye out.
Just keep an eye out for it. It's going to be a really awesome show on Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And you can get our book on Amazon.
You can get the book. You can also download the Audible. It's on Audible as well. Great. And it's me.
Oh, yeah.
It's me reading the book. So I have a very soothing voice if you haven't noticed. Yeah. But no, it's really cool.
Awesome.
It's a 2-hour read. It's a light read. It's a great gift, all that stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? It's Christmas time, guys. Get the book for yourself, for your family.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Wise woman.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.